Okay, we need to get this live stream going pretty fast. Okay, this draft is just about to fill. I know y'all are probably thinking I'm crazy here going through and getting a 2022 fantasy football draft underway. But to be completely honest, I was going through saying, okay, well, I got 3 hours till I have to go to the gym. I've already made my Dynasty videos for the day. I've already made my Dynasty podcast for the day. What the hell am I going to do? And just want to kill some time and just want to have some fun. So the best way to have some fun is, of course, hopping into one of these 2022 fantasy football best ball drafts. And we pull the 107 here. We are going to be right in the middle of the draft. And yes, this is going to be for real money. And I'm sorry, this was already filled. We sent out the link for this over there on Patreon. And I promise you, next time we get this going out, I will not send out that link on Patreon that early. I'll make sure I give everybody in the live chat a chance to get in as well. We got Aaron, Forgotten Ninja, Mitchell, Chimichanga, all out in the draft. Thank y'all so much, guys, for coming out. Hopefully a couple of y'all were able to get in here like Scott. And let me switch this over. Let's close Patreon. And like I said, we do not have this stream set up just yet. I'm just doing this for some funsies, but pulled that up. We're going to be at the 107. We've been doing a lot of Dynasty drafts. This is not going to be Dynasty Fantasy Football. I know the majority of people know what this is by now. I mean, the majority of y'all have been having so much fun with this, but I'll explain it once we get into the draft. If some people here are confused, which I'd imagine y'all aren't. And we got Ashton out here, Duke out here as well, Insane out here, and Smokey asking for over-unders. Okay, maybe we'll get to the over-unders. This is also an Underdog Fantasy. I will say I do not have as much fun with the over-unders. I have way more fun with these drafts. And also, I mean, we can make some money with these drafts. Those over-unders, we made money this year, but we got lucky. We're not going to be able to do that in the long haul. Now we got some running backs going off. We got Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. I remember when I was taking Christian McCaffrey at the 110 earlier about a month ago when we were getting these 2022 drafts underway, people laughing at us. Ooh, it's interesting. We haven't done this in probably about 3 weeks. And of course, Underdog Fantasy, they have these 2022 drafts going every single day with real money on the line. So I'd imagine that the ADP here is probably changed up a bit. You got Najee Harris going at the 1-5. Kickers' lives matter. Let's see where they're going. Obviously, ADP says Cooper Kupp's the best selection. Y'all know kind of how I feel about this at this point. Hopefully I have some water. Okay, we got some water. We're going to go Dalvin Cook over Cooper Kupp. I know a lot of people probably hate to see the Dalvin Cook selection. I know a lot of people understand why we're going Dalvin Cook there. Okay, so let's see. Aaron, happy about the Broncos' new coach. I'll say, I wish I could give some more insight on that. If Aaron is happy about it, it's probably a good thing. Robert says, wow, is this for 2020? Yes, this is for 2020. I am sure that almost everybody knows what this is by now. But this is the best thing you can do. I mean, if you want to have some fun, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, make your first deposit and you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match that first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. And yes, this is a real money draft. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, Mason, you idiot, why are you getting into a real money draft in January? And I agree, I'm an idiot. However, I'm not stupid for getting in this draft because it's going to be a best ball draft. So what that means is we are going to draft this team here. And then after the draft, there are going to be no waivers. They're not even going to submit a starting lineup. The automatic best starting lineup gets submitted for you at the end of every single week. We're going to be drafting 20 rounds here. So guys like Laquan Treadwell are going to be going off the board. So that means you don't have to have the waiver wire through the season. So there's a lot of different strategy that goes into this, mainly centered around roster construction, which is, of course, going to be crucial. And let's go through. And Duke says, when are you getting an app? Honestly, I thought about, we've had a lot of people reaching out saying, like, would you want to make an app? The thing is, knowing myself, there's no, how am I supposed to make something better than what Underdog has? Realistically. Let's be real here. How am I supposed to make something better than this? I don't think so. I don't think that's possible. Okay. So Justin says, yo, Mason, are you doing another draft after this? I will definitely get some more of these Underdog drafts going for everybody who signs up for Underdog, who wants to get into these drafts. I know a lot of y'all have already gotten into drafts with us in the live streams, but we'll get some more going. Not today, however. Actually, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. But the thing is, they're 20-round drafts. So if we're going to sit here and we're going to get multiple drafts underway, this is going to turn into a 2-3 hour live stream. But I don't think we can be streaming 2 to 3 hours. Okay. So let's pivot back over. Okay, so Debo is still available, falling to us at the 206, as well as Nick Chubb. And remember, when Cam Akers, earlier this offseason, Cam Akers was going in the late second round. And what did I say? I said, I love me some Cam Akers, but that injury was devastating. So I'm going to be looking to avoid. Now, I think you can look at Cam Akers at the 204, taken by Girthquake. If y'all don't know who Girthquake is, probably the most impactful member of the flock ever. He set up this studio for us, made us this beautiful sign. That's Noah G in the chat. He goes Cam Akers at the 204, and I am here for it. I am completely fine with it. I mean, with Cam Akers, this is a running back that you see of making it back from that injury. I mean, this early on, 6 months out for 2022, Cam Akers is good to go. I don't think you have to worry about him. We're going to go Nick Chubb here at the 206. And I know I've said this over and over and over again, just to reiterate, I'm always the guy that's going wide receiver early in these drafts. I'm always the guy this past year, what were we doing? Every single draft, we are going Davante Adams in the first, Joe Mixon in the second. Davante Adams in the first, Joe Mixon in the second. Yeah, I like taking wide receivers early. But at this point of the offseason, when we don't know how free agency is going to play out, when we don't know how the NFL draft is going to play out, when we don't know the landing spots for these running backs, I am going to pivot my strategy in January, in February, to take running backs early, especially in a best ball format. Whereas once we get through the NFL draft, and once we know how depth charts are landing, when we know where James Conner is, where Leonard Fournette is, when we know where Isaiah Spiller is, when we know where Breece Hall is, yeah, then I'm going to be fine going with wide receivers early in the draft. However, this is not the time to do it. So I'm probably going to be drafting 100 best ball teams before, I don't want to say free agency, but before the NFL draft. And during that time period, I'll probably be going running back early. And then the second that we know those running back depth charts, I'll be pivoting over, and you'll see me being the person that decides to go, say, Davante Adams, Justin Jefferson at the 1-2 turn, because clearly that's a fantastic way to start off your draft. Andrews goes at the 212, CeeDee Lamb at the 301, Aaron Jones at the 302. Aaron Jones has been someone falling a considerable amount. Of course, this is best ball. This isn't dynasty, but I've seen Aaron Jones. I believe we took him in like the 9th or 10th round of our most recent dynasty mock draft. And y'all know I'm always the person to say fade the veteran running backs in dynasty at this point of the offseason. But, I mean, Aaron Jones has been falling a considerable amount. And Alex decides to go 3 running backs in a row. You got King Tanner going J.K. Dobbins at the 303. I would have 100% taken Dobbins if you made it to us in the 3rd. Now, Zeke is also another player that's been falling a considerable amount. I don't know if we could take Zeke if he does fall to us with this pick. Leonard Fournette used to be going in the 2nd round. I really did not like that Leonard Fournette price point, knowing that he is going to be an upcoming free agent. Looks like Amara St. Brown's skyrocketing here. Okay, so now DK Metcalf at the 305. Kickers' lives matter. Oh, this is interesting. They go Travis Etienne. Do we have to take Diggs? I think we probably have to. Yeah, we went running back started off. I know, obviously, at the Gabriel Davis blow-up week, it is what it is. We're going to take Stephon Diggs here at the 307. I mean, there's a possibility that we get that stack with Josh Allen a little bit later on. I mean, if you're looking at where we were taking Stephon Diggs, I believe we take him here as the wide receiver 12. We're getting him behind guys like CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf. I'm going to be completely fine with that. And yeah, it looks like, I mean, we got him pretty much as the wide receiver 11 or wide receiver 12. I was planning on going running back, really hoping that we had someone like J.K. Dobbins making it back to us. Now here you got Josh Allen going at the 308, so it's not going to be possible for us to get that Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen stack. Lance saying he has an issue with Thrive Fantasy. My man, I'm sorry. Thrive Fantasy, completely different than Underdog. Completely different than Underdog. I have no idea what to tell you there, my friend. Now Derek coming out says, Derek, happy to have you out in the chat, my friend. Hopefully, actually, no, you were not able to get into this draft with us. Sadly, not. Okay, so Smokey the Cat says over-unders, please. Again, We'll get to the over-unders at some point. Maybe I'll make a separate video going through and talking about those over-unders. If you were unaware, I'm sure a lot of y'all seen me do Underdog Fantasy ad reads at the beginning of videos talking about player props. They have player props as well. I mean, I will try to open this up in a new tab if I can, because I don't want to ruin this draft board. Okay, perfect. Yeah, this is what we have so far. I'm not going to dive into those, but yes, this is the same site in Underdog Fantasy. But drafts should be available in damn near every single state. Of course, Underdog Fantasy is completely regulated and everything, and drafts are available in damn near every state. I think player props, there are like 8 or 9 states they're not available in. No, I think drafts are available in more. Okay, Rockley says he would have gone Gibson over Chubb. I think the thing with Antonio Gibson is, keep in mind, I loved Antonio Gibson. Going back to that 2020 draft class, very few people were as excited about Antonio Gibson as I was, because what were the boxes he checked? He had the bell cow running back size. He had the elite athletic profile. We perceived him to have great pass catching ability, and at the same time, he had the team investment. He checked every single box. People were worried about the fact that he can't run between the tackles. Who the hell cares if he can't run between the tackles? But clearly, he learned how to do that at the NFL level. I think at this point, we can probably say that the dynasty and overall fantasy community is a little bit higher on Antonio Gibson, however, than the real life NFL. And I'd imagine that Gibson is probably at a higher risk to see more running back competition coming in this offseason than Nick Chubb. And I know that obviously Antonio Gibson, it's not like this team's going to go out there and sign Leonard Fournette or anything, but what if they decide to go through and take a running back in the 3rd round? I think that's actually in the range of outcomes. Okay. So now let's see what we're going to be looking at. Okay, so it looks like we have some running backs making it back to us. I think this team here at Gliz is on auto draft. Yeah, they go Leonard Fournette. Honestly, we were going to go Fournette if he did fall. Okay, so now I think we're actually probably going to pivot over. I actually like the idea of taking a running back here. The thing is, we have to look at how this draft is going to play out later on. So if we're talking about pure value, Darren Waller's my guy. However, I don't necessarily think we should be focusing in on just that. We're going to go Josh Jacobs. Now, the reason we're taking a running back here, you could easily make an argument for Elijah Mitchell. You want Elijah Mitchell, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to argue with you. But the reason that we're going Josh Jacobs here over Darren Waller, when I perceive Darren Waller to be the better value on the board, and I would easily be taking Darren Waller if this was August over Josh Jacobs, is we have to look at the running backs that are going to be available with our next pick. Okay, so we are not going to be picking again for another 12. Elijah Mitchell is going to be gone. Michael Carter will most likely be gone. And I'd imagine that once those guys are off the board, you're going to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you're going to see A.J. Dillon right on that threshold. And I don't want to be taking someone like James Conner. I don't want to have to reach on James Conner and take him over T.J. Hawkinson. I would rather have the combination of Josh Jacobs and T.J. Hawkinson than James Conner when James Conner doesn't have a contract this upcoming season, and Darren Waller. Batman Gaming coming out. Thank you, my man. Says, what's up, fam? Hope you're doing good. Got Joe Burrow, Trey Lance, and Zach Wilson in a 12-team super flex. What price would be the lowest I should take for Wilson? Okay, obviously this is going to be a dynasty super flex league. And here, if we're talking Zach Wilson, I would honestly be fine just like hitting the reset button. Like if we wanted to go through, if we wanted to pivot off of Zach Wilson, and if we could get, say, the 110, if you want to go through and make that trade, I would be fine with it, because if you think back on where we took Zach Wilson in rookie drafts last year, now keep in mind, of course, I mean, that was a much better rookie class than what you'll have this season, but Zach Wilson wasn't that late first round range. I mean, Zach Wilson was very rarely making it past the 107, 108, and I've seen over there on Patreon, people trading Zach Wilson for late first round picks. So you had a free chance to see how he was going to play out his rookie year, and he failed in miserable fashion. And if you can pivot off of him at not much of a loss, I think I'm completely fine doing that, if we're going to be honest. Okay, so French Toast coming out says, dude, leave James Conner alone. He's the GOAT. I agree. Jayan says, if McKissick leaves, Gibson takes off. 100%. I think that with this Antonio Gibson price point, this is baked in that J.D. McKissick's not here this upcoming season. I mean, J.D. McKissick not under contract. King Tanner going through just hoarding the running back position. Goes Elijah Mitchell, Michael Carter at the turn. You got A.J. Dillon going at the 504. Okay, so this is what we were talking about. Like, I would rather be taking a wide receiver here. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire continuing to fall. With CEH, we've been talking about him in Dynasty, it feels like a lot. This is a running back that, I mean, you're looking at, well, I believe the Chiefs would probably want to get rid of him if they can. It's probably unlikely that the team's actually able to do that. However, if we're looking at running backs that we can get later, you know what, compared to wide receivers, let's take a receiver here. I'm going to be going with Tyler Lockett. Now, yes, we're going to go with Tyler Lockett over Amon-Ra St. Brown. We have some concerns with Tyler Lockett. Possibly you are not going to be getting Russell Wilson back in Seattle this upcoming season. And with Amon-Ra St. Brown, however, I think that St. Brown is a clear fade for me if he's going to be going in the 5th round. I understand that Amon-Ra St. Brown was a wide receiver that was a league-winning option. I mean, y'all remember, this is the redraft channel. I was all about Amon-Ra St. Brown at the end of the season. We were saying he was a must-start guy every single week before he started being a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. But the reason we were saying that is you had no Hawkinson, and at the same time, not only did you have no TJ Hawkinson, you had no DeAndre Swift. You were just getting target after target after target after target going in the direction of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And this upcoming offseason, you're going to see this team who has objectively the worst wide receiver core in the NFL. Please spam the chat real quick if you think I'm wrong, because obviously I'm wrong with 90% of the things I say. I'm an idiot. But what team has a worse wide receiver core than the Detroit Lions? Please let me know in the chat. Now, this team's clearly going to go into free agency. They're clearly going to go into the NFL draft with the idea that they want to address the position. Now, if they're going to be planning on addressing the position, that's automatically going to knock down Amon-Ra St. Brown in the total poll. Now, if he's going to get pegged down to, say, be the wide receiver 2, say they take Treylon Burks at the end of the 1st round with that Los Angeles Rams selection, then you automatically have St. Brown behind him. But even if he's able to dodge free agency and he's able to dodge the NFL draft for target competition, you'll still have a healthy DeAndre Swift. You'll still have a healthy TJ Hawkinson. So I'm going to be taking Lockett over St. Brown, especially in a best ball format where we know Tyler Lockett does have the weekly ceiling where you could see him pop off for 40 points. Now, we have a couple people coming out saying the Jags. Okay, so that's a fair point. Okay, would you rather have, I guess DJ Chark's a free agent this upcoming season. Okay, so let's remove DJ Chark. I guess probably you would rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown over Laviska Shenault at this point, and really those are the only notable wide receivers on either team. So I think that's a fair point. Okay. Sean says Raiders are probably worse. Honestly, I kind of view, we were saying this before the breakout. We were kind of viewing, Hunter Renfrow and Amon-Ra St. Brown as the same player. I still kind of think that they are the same player. I mean, you see that Hunter Renfrow breakout happen the second that you have Darren Waller leave this offense as well. I think they're very comparable. Okay, so now Brianna says Saints. Okay, so let's think. No, Michael Thomas is just a completely different class than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Michael Thomas will be playing this upcoming season. Okay, so Mike Williams at the 602. Let's pivot back over. Oh, James Conner used to be going so much higher than this. So much higher. I think we're fine going with the wide receiver. I would have loved to see Lamar Jackson fall back to us. What we probably should have done, to be honest, is if this was a regular draft, I think we would have been fine passing on quarterback there, going Tyler Lockett. However, we should have noticed that Gliz here is on auto draft in a real money draft, by the way, and they decide to take they're on auto draft. So auto draft decides to have them take Justin Herbert. And if we would have known that they were automatically going to be taking Herbert here, it probably would have incentivized us to go through and grab one of these elite quarterbacks in either Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. Lamar probably would have been my guy in this format in particular. So yeah, honestly, we should have probably taken Lamar Jackson over Tyler Lockett. That was a bad selection on my part. Okay, let's pull this up. 606. Come on. They're going Michael Pittman. They're on auto draft going Michael Pittman. We're going to take Michael Thomas here. We're taking Michael Thomas. I'm not even going to think twice about it. I mean, with Michael Thomas, of course, he has the downside of not playing. And I know a lot of people. I mean, last time we took Michael Thomas in one of these drafts in the middle of the 6th round, we had a couple people down there in the chat going, Mason, don't you know Michael Thomas is injury prone? Mason, don't you know Michael Thomas? He's too risky to be taken in the middle of the 6th round. Well, when's the last time Michael Thomas was healthy going into the season? Where was he going in fantasy drafts? Oh, yeah, Michael Thomas was going back in 2020 fantasy drafts, he was going at the 103, the 104. Okay, so we kind of already established where a healthy Michael Thomas is going in fantasy. So an injured Michael Thomas that you do have injury concerns with in the middle of the 6th round, I think we're getting a pretty big discount. I think the injury risk is kind of baked into that price point already. JN coming out says Philadelphia is worse. I mean, let me look up the leading receivers in Detroit. I know Jalen Reagor is pretty damn bad, but still, let me look this up in Detroit. Okay, team stats. Let's go and check this out. Let's go to receiving. Okay, so the leading receivers for the Detroit Lions this season were DeAndre Swift, T.J. Hawkinson, and Amara St. Brown. So out of your top 3 options, one of them's a receiver. Beyond that, you have Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. Keep in mind, Josh Reynolds got cut halfway through the year by Tennessee, and he made it back. And you know who the 6th best receiving option in terms of the receptions this season was on the Detroit Lions? Jamal Williams. Your 2nd running back has more receptions than your 4th receiver. I mean, has 3 less receptions than Josh Reynolds. Quintus Cephas after that with 15. Come on. Like who the hell is Khalif Raymond? Why are we talking about this? I think that you would rather have the Philadelphia Eagles. I know Jalen Reagor's bad, but I think Jalen Reagor's probably better than Khalif Raymond. Steven says Giants wideouts suck. They definitely did this year. I mean, the Giants had probably the worst injury luck of anybody in the NFL this year. Okay, you got a big wide receiver run happening. You got Hollywood Brown, Adam Thielen, Ayuk, Hunter Renfrow, Darnell Mooney, Dak at the 704. Okay, let's pivot this over. Rodgers has fallen a considerable amount. You got Rashad Penny, Miles Sanders, Cordell Patterson, Odell, Robert Woods, Chase Claypool. I honestly think maybe we're fine going. Can we go running back here? Remember Cordell Patterson was going in the 3rd round when we started these drafts a month ago. People were taking Patterson in the 3rd round. Y'all know I am a Rashad Penny fanboy. I mean, I have been overdrafting Rashad Penny since 2018. It is a tradition. If you've been following the Fantasy Flock Network, you've seen us overdraft Rashad Penny in 2018 and 2019 and 2020. And I thought we were, I don't want to say overdrafting him in 2021 because in these underdog drafts, we were getting him in the last round. But I thought we were probably taking him in too many drafts. Now, we're going to pass on Rashad Penny here. Instead, we're going to go Miles Sanders at the 707. And I understand, yes, with Rashad Penny, he has the talent. He's probably a better running back than Miles Sanders. Rashad Penny is probably a more talented running back than a lot of these guys that have already gone off the board. But the reason why we are overdrafting Rashad Penny earlier in his career is because, yes, we've always known he has the talent. The issue with Rashad Penny is not the talent. The issue with Rashad Penny is he simply cannot stay healthy. Jan coming out says, sorry, forgot your guy Travis Fulgham. Oh my God. Do y'all remember the Travis Fulgham hype in 2020? 2 years ago, everybody on Fulgham thinking Travis Fulgham was something big. That's hilarious. Aaron says, future Bronco Aaron Rodgers. Where do y'all think Aaron Rodgers ends up? Where do y'all think he ends up? Steven says, Brandon Cooks is a better pick than Michael Thomas. I think it's definitely a conversation you could have. I think they're in the same tier. Okay, Rashad Penny at the 7-9, Tony Pollard at the 7-10. Obviously, with Tony Pollard, I mean, an elite handcuff running back. If something were to occur to Ezekiel Elliott, all of a sudden, I mean, Pollard does become a top 5 running back in fantasy. And crap, I just forgot to mention this. Okay, if you're looking at the ticker down below, that was the ticker before the season. That is no longer the promo on Underdog Fantasy. The promo now on Underdog Fantasy is they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. So if you don't go deposit 10, they'll match the deposit $10. If you go deposit 50, they'll match the deposit $50. You go deposit 75, they'll match it 75. You deposit 100, they'll match it 100. Okay, so please don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at Underdog Fantasy if you're running over and seeing that promo is no longer there. But make sure you use promo code FLOCK and find the link in the description of the video or in the comment section. Thomas says, I'm really annoyed by the auto draft guys stealing every quarterback. Yes, that is very annoying. I agree with you there. We're probably going to have to take quarterback coming out of this. Trey Lance goes to the 801. Keep in mind, this is a best ball format. So because you don't have to submit your starting lineup every single week, it is viable to go and say, if you think Trey Lance is a great value here at the 801, you don't have to, but it's something you can do. You can decide to go Lamar Jackson and Trey Lance at the beginning of the 6th and the beginning of the 8th, because you don't have to pick which one's going to start every single week. And naturally, if Trey Lance does pop off next year, which, we're expecting, and just say in week 3, he has 100 rushing yards and ends up dropping 27 fantasy points, and Lamar Jackson has a down week at 13, automatically Lance pops up as your starting quarterback and you get 27 points out of that spot. So a lot of people will go through and they will take 2 stud quarterbacks. This team here is on auto draft. I figured Underdog Fantasy would probably cap them off and once they take those top 2 in the top 5 rounds, but I'm assuming they're probably going to get capped off at Rodgers here. They're going to be going Robert Woods. And I think we kind of have to go Tom Brady with this selection. Now, the reason I'm taking Brady over Jalen Hurts, if Jalen Hurts, we just know he makes it through the entire offseason, we don't have to worry about him potentially getting replaced in Philadelphia or them bringing in target competition, I'd be completely fine taking Jalen Hurts here over Tom Brady, given the fact that it's a 4-point passing touchdown league, and with Jalen Hurts, clearly he has that elite rushing ceiling. However, with the Eagles having 3 first-round picks, and I understand the coaching staff and I understand everybody in Philadelphia is operating under the assumption that you will have Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback this upcoming season, I can't necessarily go all in on it. I think there is still that outside chance with 3 first-round picks that they do decide, hell, Matt Corral fell to us at 15. We weren't expecting this. Let's just grab Matt. Who knows what's going to happen? So I'd rather take the safer option than Tom Brady. I felt like we had to take a quarterback there no matter what. Just looking at the fact that Gliz has stacked 3 through 7 rounds. You also have Adaman going out there and taking 2 of the elite guys in Lamar Jackson and Trey Lance as well. Okay, so now let's go through. Okay, Johnny says Rager might be good, hasn't been healthy half the time, and Hurts is not a good quarterback. He can't support multiple wide receivers. My friend, please, for the love of God, don't make excuses for Jalen Rager. I didn't like Rager coming in, to be completely honest, so maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but when you fail in the fashion that Jalen Rager has failed in so far, there is no coming back from it. Absolutely just no coming back. Please, please, please. Don't look at Jalen Rager thinking that we're going to be able to get something here. Okay, so Alexander Madison at the 901. Tyler Boyd at the 902. Tyler says, is Brady retiring? I can't say it. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased here as I live downtown Tampa, so we're hoping not, but I doubt it. And when we take Brady here, it's a natural spot to go through and just get a built-in stack in here, get Rob Gronkowski. Let's see what Kicker's Life decides to do. He went Hawkinson, so I doubt he goes Gronk. He goes Gabriel Davis at the 906. Let me know what y'all think with that Gabriel Davis selection. I'd imagine Gabriel Davis is going much higher once we actually get that ADP shifted based on last week's game. I mean, this ADP really not accounting for last week's game with the Gabriel Davis hype that you're going to get. So I'd imagine that Davis probably ends up going closer to that Darnell Mooney, Hunter Renfrow range. Colton says, I wish Devonta Smith was on a team with an elite level quarterback. I wonder what he would be. Legitimately, say you had, and I know Smith wouldn't be anything close to Ja'Marr Chase. Trust me, I get it. I'm not trying to infer that. Ja'Marr Chase is on a different planet than Devonta Smith. But what do you think they would look like if you did have Ja'Marr Chase going to Philadelphia and you had Devonta Smith going to Cincinnati with Joe Burrow? I know, yes, Ja'Marr Chase would still be better than Smith. I'm with you. I understand that. I agree with you. But still, it is kind of crappy. And I love Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen Hurts, he was one of my guys that we were drafting in 2020 over and over again at the beginning of the 3rd round of 12-team Superflex rookie drafts, mainly just because the rushing ups. I don't think he's a great real-life NFL quarterback or anything, even though I have seen Jalen Hurts in person. Okay, so Curdy coming out says, Pats need a good young wide receiver. Do you think Treylon Burks could fall out of them? I will say, every single offseason, we play this game with ourselves. Every single offseason, we go, the Patriots need a receiver. Let's take the best wide receiver we have in mind and let's mock him to the Patriots. Let's see Patriots go out there and get DK Metcalf. Let's see them go out there and let's see them get Treylon Burks. I mean, the 1 year people thought it happened when N'Keal Harry didn't pan out. So, I mean, if you look historically at how bad Belichick has been at identifying those wide receivers in the NFL draft, it's almost funny at this point. Like, I wish I had the list in front of me, but every wide receiver they've taken in like the top 3 rounds over the past decade, and they've taken like 20 of them, has just been a colossus bust. Okay. Freiermuth goes to the 10:03. Honestly, I kind of like these running backs going off the board. I had no interest. We kind of want wide receivers making it back to us here. You got Sutton, Myers, Gallup, Van Jefferson, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, Chark. Yeah, we need wide receivers making it back. Okay, let's see. Noah decides to go with Jacoby Myers. Gliz is going to go Courtland Sutton because they're on auto, which sucks for us. We're going to be looking at Gallup, Jefferson, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, DJ Chark, Jarvis Landry, Fuller, Golladay, Gage. Okay, so I think we have to make some adjustments. I know we've talked about this a lot, but this is not going to be a tournament best ball draft on Underdog Fantasy, which there I'd be a lot more inclined to just go Michael Gallup. This is going to be a private draft, so there are no playoffs here. No playoffs at all. We need to focus in on what wide receivers are going to be able to produce for us throughout the entire season, not just the beginning. And for that reason, I'm going to be going through and avoiding Michael Gallup. And if we're going to be avoiding Michael Gallup, I want to avoid Van Jefferson as well. I'm going to go Rondale Moore. No, I'm not going to go Rondale Moore. I'm going to go Corey Davis. We'd go Rondale Moore in Dynasty. That's my Dynasty mind going into us. We're just going to take someone that, I mean, most likely is going to be playing every single down. I know right now you actually have the Jets as a team that's consistently getting mocked to take a wide receiver around that 10th pick, whether that's Garrett Wilson or that's Drake London. Not sure if it's going to happen. I mean, with Corey Davis, I think that he's a fantastic pick from a best ball perspective. Van Jefferson, I think, would be the selection if it wasn't for the possibility of Odell Beckham Jr. going back to Los Angeles this offseason. Deezonator says, geez, I hated that pick as soon as he made it. Let me see where you went. Chase Edmonds and Ronald Jones. I'm not a big fan of the Ronald Jones selection. I understand the thought process that if you're looking at Ronald Jones, I mean, he is a free agent this upcoming offseason, and at the same time, he's incredibly young, but he's never going to have receiving upside no matter where he lands. And at the same time, there's no reason to assume that any team's going to give him a considerable role. I would honestly be surprised if he ends up finding himself in a large part of a committee somewhere else. Okay, so Derek coming out there and talking about a bunch of the Patriots receivers that they've taken. Let me pull this up. A brief history of the Patriots struggling at wide receiver. Okay. Okay, they're getting in the 7th round here. This isn't a good article. Yeah. Come on, The Ringer. What are you doing? What are you doing? Revisiting every wide receiver Bill Belichick has taken. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't find that. If anybody wants to find that and DM it to me on Twitter, I'd be happy to see it. Yeah, so Gallup goes to the 10-12. The reason we're taking Corey Davis over Gallup is we just need points throughout the entire season. I'm worried with how late Gallup suffered that injury this past season that he's going to miss some time at the beginning of the year. Got Hunter Henry at the 11:01. Zach Ertz at the 11:02. I don't even know what we want at this point. We have a very balanced team. We got Brady at quarterback. At running back, Dalvin, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders. Wide receiver, we have Stephon Diggs, Tyler Lockett, Michael Thomas, Corey Davis, and we have Gronk at tight end. King Tanner, I'd imagine. Oh, yeah, they go Tannehill. I kind of had to expect King Tanner to go with a quarterback there. Higbee goes to the 11:04. Chark, I don't like the idea of taking Chark. You got Derek Carr going. Okay, we have to reach on a quarterback. We have no other option. Actually, you know what? We're going to let them continue to take QBs. I think we're fine with that. I think that the fantasy community is significantly higher on DJ Chark than really the NFL. And as a free agent this upcoming season, I'm going to be surprised if he finds himself in a situation that's favorable. I know with Kenny Golladay, obviously, keep in mind, I know most people here want us to go DJ Chark, and I was adamant that DJ Chark was a good wide receiver target in fantasy drafts this last offseason, when clearly he wasn't, when he was one of the worst values on the board. I mean, that was a massive bust on our part. And I hated Kenny Golladay. But this upcoming season, where Galladay's under contract with guaranteed money, I actually, at this point, I definitely like taking Kenny Golladay over DJ Chark, 100%. I honestly don't even think it's something I have to think about. B Van coming out says, I feel like every year I draft Tannehill and I am left down. I think Tannehill's a great pick there. I mean, if we're just talking about quarterbacks that have guaranteed job security, I wonder what the Tennessee Titans are going to look like next year, though, with the 28-year-old Derrick Henry. 28-year-old Derrick Henry, and probably no Julio Jones. Who are they going to bring in for their secondary wide receiver option? Mac Jones at the 1109. The reason we decided to pass on quarterbacks is just looking at some of these other teams. I mean, a lot of them already had QB. So I figured maybe we could wait just a little. We'll see how it plays out. Okay, Kenneth Gainwell at the 1110. Sony Michel at the 1111. Okay, so Deeznator's going through, catching up on the running back position. Let's kind of revisit what he did earlier in the draft, going Tyreek Hill in the first. Okay, so if we can kind of look back on this and compare some of these running backs that he has taken to the wide receivers in this range, would you prefer the combination of Chase Edmonds and Tyreek Hill, or Joe Mixon and Christian Kirk? I think you do have the upside with Chase Edmonds if he finds himself in a favorable spot. If James Conner maybe gets paid a significant amount of money to go elsewhere and they actually bring in Chase Edmonds back to Arizona on a discount, that's a possibility. Jarvis Landry, if you look at the guaranteed money, they're going to save $15 million by cutting him, or they're going to restructure his contract to stay in Cleveland. No idea where Jarvis Landry is going to end up. Okay, so Deeznator safety. I doubt he continues to go running back, and imagine this pick's going to be a wide receiver. No, he goes Darrell Williams. Interesting. Zach Wilson at the 1203. Okay, so Russell Gage is going to be a free agent as well this offseason. You have Calvin Ridley wanting out of Atlanta. Okay, so if we're looking at the wide receivers on this list, I am pretty sure I saw, hey, let me know if this is, I'm going to, actually, it's going to be impossible for me to find that. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I think here we're just going to end up going with Russell Gage. Actually, I guess Will Fuller wouldn't be bad. Will Fuller's a free agent as well. The thing with Fuller is you could easily see him going out there and having the spike weeks if he's able to stay healthy. However, when we're drafting this far away from the season, I'd rather take a player I perceive to have a little bit of a higher floor. So hopefully we can take Russell Gage with the expectation of him going back to Atlanta. I think Atlanta would honestly be the best landing spot possible for Russell Gage if he was able to re-sign. Let's go Gage at the 1206. Terrence coming out says, which draft is this? Okay, so yeah, this is just going to be the Underdog Fantasy 2022 drafts. If y'all are unsure, I mean, Underdog Fantasy, yes, I know has a ton of different contests. I can show you all a couple of things that they have real quick. This is all the same platform. They have a ton of different drafts. You can go do whatever you want with whoever you want in it. But yeah, if you want to go through and get into some tournament basketball drafts for the games, I believe on Saturday and Sunday, or are they both on Sunday? I don't know if they're both on Sunday or Saturday and Sunday. They got hockey. They have basketball drafts. They got whatever you want. We're right now in a 2022 fantasy football draft. Okay. So Marvin Jones at the 1209, Will Fuller at the 1210. You got Tua going here. Interesting. I think that we can honestly maybe just sit out the quarterback position and get guys and take two of guys like Daniel Jones and Matt Ryan at the very, very end. Just taking shots on a couple guys that could potentially be starting quarterbacks. B Van says, have you done any of the playoff drafts? Yes, I did so many of the Underdog Fantasy playoff drafts. We did a lot on this channel as well. And I was going all in on the Los Angeles Rams. I went all in on the Rams. We faded the Packers hard because I thought there was a decent chance that the Packers got upset by the 49ers. So I was counting my money. I was like in there calling the bank saying, hey, we're going to get the Ferrari. We're going to win the $100,000 on Underdog Fantasy. Once you had the Rams beating the Bucs and you had the 49ers beating the Packers, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have a lot of Packers, we have a lot of 49ers, no Packers. We have a lot of Rams, really no Tampa Bay Buccaneers either. But then you had the Bills game and the Bills and the Chiefs facing off, and they just smashed us. I did not have a lot of Josh Allen, not have a lot of Patrick Mahomes, and I just wasn't able to advance many teams at all. I think we advanced a handful of teams, like the handful of teams had dead players on them. So if you say advance a team that has Leonard Fournette, you have no chance of going through and making any money in the next round just because there are going to be so many other teams that are better than yours. So yes, we did them, but we did a very bad in them. Okay, so we're probably going to take a tight end here because if you're looking at the board of tight ends, Cole Kmet's definitely one of these guys that's in the last tier. I actually really like Irv Smith Jr. as well. We're going to take Cole Kmet. It's either Cole Kmet or Irv Smith Jr. for me because this team's on auto draft, so you know for a fact that they are going to be taking Logan Thomas. And then if you look at the teams after that, they all only have one tight end. They all only have one tight end. Oh, they just got back from auto draft. Actually, they're in the draft now. They go Raheem Mostert. Interesting. Okay, maybe we wouldn't have. No, we would have gotten a tight end. I mean, none of these teams have tight ends here, so I'd imagine that those last few guys in that tier get taken off the board. Derek coming out says Josh Allen crushed our dreams. Yes, Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis. Alex coming out says, a first draft I was finally able to get into with Mason. Could you check out my team so far? Yes, sir, my man. Thank you so much, of course, for hopping in the draft with us. And let me know what your team name is here. Let me know what it is. Thomas says Antonio Brown to Baltimore. I'm assuming that Thomas is the guy that went through and just took Antonio Brown in the 13th. Curtis Samuel at the 13-11. Curtis Samuel, God, I remember we were drafting Curtis Samuel in best ball drafts last year. Clearly that did not pan out. CJ Uzama, Devontae Parker. I love the Devontae Parker pick at the 14-01. Hate the CJ Uzama pick. I think like the difference between Cole Kmet and Irv Smith Jr. and CJ Uzama, like it's like the difference, in my opinion, between like Tyreek Hill and Jacoby Myers. Obviously not that extreme, but I mean, there's a pretty large gap. Okay, Alex says it's just his name. Okay, perfect. My man, I completely overlooked it. I don't know how we did that. Okay, so we'll get to that 1 second. You got Robert Tonyan going to the 14-02. Let me get our pick up and ready. There are a couple running backs that I'm fine with. Okay, a lot of people saying the 102. Perfect. Okay, Hardman at the 14-03. Mecole Hardman, someone that we were taking, I mean, around the 10th round, I believe, in these drafts. Just thinking, hell, he has upside with no Sammy Watkins in Kansas City. Maybe he can just go out there and play enough snaps with Patrick Mahomes and a dynamic offense. Mecole Hardman's just straight up buns. Oh, my God. Okay, so now we're probably just going to end up going QB. I guess we could wait for guys like this super late, but is there really anybody else we need to even consider taking? Yeah, we're going to go Carson Wentz. Obviously, Wentz looked horrendous in that last game. But, I mean, if you're looking at this team, they have no first-round pick. I think it's going to be very hard for them to go through and actually successfully replace Carson Wentz. Okay, so let's check out the second team here for Alex. CMC, Montgomery, Aaron Jones. Waller at the 4-11. I love this Waller selection. I probably would go J.K. Dobbins over Aaron Jones. Obviously, Aaron Jones just had the big day. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that there's so much uncertainty with Aaron Jones here, where if you're looking at Aaron Jones, you possibly have no Aaron Rodgers. And at the same time, I mean, you know that he's going to be in a committee regardless with A.J. Dillon. So personally, I just would pivot over instead. Probably go with J.K. Dobbins, a younger running back as well. And then beyond that, DJ Moore at the 502 with DJ Moore here. Yeah, I think DJ Moore is the best wide receiver available on the board. I think at the same time, what would have happened if you decided to push the envelope with running back and go like Michael Carter? It would have been interesting to see how other teams would have handled you potentially taking another running back there. I think DJ Moore is probably the best value on the board. Adam Thielen at the 6'11". Adam Thielen was my favorite player available. Hunter Renfrow at the 702. I probably... Like, if we're looking at this, would you rather have the combination of Miles Sanders and Michael Gallup or Hunter Renfrow, Gus Edwards? Obviously, you already went through and just hammered in the running back position very early on. I don't know if I'm just biased against Hunter Renfrow, thinking that this team's going to be bringing in target competition this offseason, and you're going to see his share of the offense just naturally decrease as well with Darren Waller coming back. I like the Zach Ertz selection. I mean, if you're looking at Zach Ertz with the players who took him over, I think the opportunity cost there is very minimal. Julio Jones at the 12-11. I'm fine with that as well. Matt Ryan at 13-02. I thought we were going to get Matt Ryan a little bit later on. Stole Matt Ryan from us. Nyheim Hines here. Nyheim Hines is the perfect pick. If I didn't go Carson Wentz, I was going to go Nyheim Hines. Just given the fact that, I mean, if you're looking at Nyheim Hines, not someone that we like from a regular fantasy football perspective when you have to know when to put him in your starting lineup. But from a best ball perspective, I really like the idea of just having Nyheim Hines and saying, hell, well, this is a running back that can randomly pop off for 6 receptions and 2 receiving touchdowns. So I like the idea of grabbing him in the best ball, especially where you did. Tim Patrick at the 15-02. I like that as well. Yeah, I really like that team overall. I think there's some intriguing plays that you could have possibly pulled off in the middle round. I think really the only thing that I can say with certainty that I would change, and keep in mind, I'm an idiot, of course, is I think I would have gone Dobbins over Aaron Jones with the uncertainty in Green Bay. But outside of that, I think everything's fine. Okay, so let's pull this up. Actually, probably... Okay, so the thing is, if we were going to... Who would we even take? I think we're going to go Kenyon Drake. I know we have Josh Jacobs. I don't like grabbing the handcuff running back in this scenario. But, I mean, if you're looking at Kenyon Drake, he signed an $11 million guaranteed contract. You know he's going to be the running back 2 in Las Vegas this upcoming season. So just given the fact that he has that job security, where you don't have that job security with guys like Cole Beasley, Marquez Callaway, Alan Lazard. Remember where Marquez Callaway was going at one point during the preseason? Oh, it's just funny to think back on. But I think that he actually has more job security than most other players, and we kind of need a 5th running back here. And with the quarterbacks, I don't see anybody really hammering in these quarterbacks at this point. And a lot of these guys are the exact same to me. Is there really any difference for y'all between Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston, Jimmy Garoppolo, Davis Mills? Like, I don't see a massive difference in any of those guys. So let's scroll down this. You could get Marquez Callaway going at the 15:08. So Richard says, so when do you get paid out for winning this draft? You get paid out at the, I believe, week 17 of the 2022 season. Week 17 should be when it ends. Yeah, because it would be week 16, but they added it in the week. So week 17, you get paid out that day. Okay, Baker Mayfield goes to the 15-11. Byron Pringle, Cole Beasley, Marquez Callaway. After our next pick, we're probably going to end the draft. I mean, at this point, when you got guys like Byron Pringle going off the board, I don't think this is helping anybody from a roster. And when I say in this draft, I'm going to end the stream and probably go through and get ready to make some dynasty videos on another window. But we're going to continue to do this draft so we can finish it out and have a shot at the league pot here. But I will go through and I'll talk about our roster construction and what we're going to be doing with the next 4 rounds, because that definitely matters a ton in these drafts. Okay, so Quest Watkins at the 16:02. Okay. Alan Lazard, Dearness Johnson, Sterling Shepard. Yeah, wide receivers are just toast at this point. I think maybe we just grab Jimmy G. I'm not a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the end of the day, I think that he's going to be guaranteed a starting spot on some NFL team. Would it be better to take Jimmy Garoppolo here with the assumption that he can find a spot elsewhere outside of San Francisco, or just take the quarterback that we know is currently starting in Detroit? You know, we're not going to do either. We're going to take Daniel Jones. With Daniel Jones, I think that if we're just talking about spike week potential, I mean, he probably has a little bit of a lower chance of starting than Jared Goff or Jimmy Garoppolo. But if we're talking spike week potential, I mean, with Daniel Jones, he does have the rushing upside. So you could actually get there from a fantasy football perspective, even if he may not be the best real life NFL quarterback. But from here, I believe we have 5 running backs, 6 receivers, 3 quarterbacks, and double tight ends. So we're probably going to be going through and taking 2 more wide receivers, 1 more running back, and potentially 1 more tight end based on how this draft falls. I like the fact that these underdog drafts, you have 20 rounds compared to 18 rounds, because there you're able to really go through and make sure that you're trying to get to that 3rd tight end if you did not take one of those elite options at the very top. But of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock and supporting the channel. Really hope that this podcast really hope that y'all enjoyed this live stream. Really hope that y'all decide to go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Have some fun with me on the next live stream. When you make your first deposit, they'll match up first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100.